Yesterday, William, the Prince of Wales, turned 43. Now, we've all watched the heir to the British throne grow up, get married, have a family, and really establish himself as a reliable and empathetic senior working royal, well on the way to the top job. But it all started on the 21st of June in 1982 with much excitement when it was announced that he had arrived. Joining me now is the Royal Editor for the Daily Mirror, Russell Myers. Russell, it's so great to see all the footage of William growing up, obviously, into the man he is today. He's evidently someone who understands the responsibility of his station. What are your reflections on the Prince on his birthday?
Well, hi there, Karen. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, turning 43 wouldn't normally be one of those milestone birthdays. But I think there's been a lot to be said about the Prince of Wales because it's been quite an extraordinary year, not only for him, but of course his family, his father and his wife undergoing cancer treatment in the last year. And he's had an awful lot on his shoulders. And I think he's sort of trying to work all of that out. Of course, how his father was doing at the time, looking after three children. What would it mean for him with his wife sort of out the picture, not only from family life, but with the monarchy as well? And whilst he's doing that, he's sort of trying out these new pillars, I call them, sort of, when he's working with the environment, with homelessness. And it's definitely taking the monarchy in a different direction. It's rather sort of evolution than revolution. And certainly William is trying to sort of get ahead, I suppose. He is a king in waiting, of course, and he's got to be prepared. And I think certainly what we've seen in recent years is him and Catherine taking on a very, very different take on the monarchy and how the job is done. They try and work out these sort of central facets of their duties, and it's not necessarily getting around the country and doing as many jobs you can, like Princess Anne, like even the King. I mean, he's had a sort of ferocious schedule over the last few months, but certainly trying to affect generational change, and whether that's to do with the environment, as I said, with homelessness, or you're looking at the Princess of Wales's early years development programme. It's definitely heading in a new direction now.
Most definitely is. And earlier in the show, we spoke about Royal Ascot, but I'd obviously love to have your insights, as well as an update on Catherine's, well, that much reported absence from part of it.
Well, indeed. I think it was a bit of a communications mess at best, because the Kensington Palace said that they had never, in fact, sort of underlined her attendance. That hadn't been confirmed, and it was very much a wish of the festivals. Her name was, of course, printed in the official programme. She was due to travel in the second carriage with Prince William. And it is unfortunate that her name was announced just before the statement came from Kensington Palace saying she wouldn't be attending on Wednesday. And I think, listen, when all's said and done, it's just an indication of how much the Princess of Wales does need to pace herself. And I think sometimes we've forgotten about that. She's carried on quite a big schedule over the last week leading up to Royal Ascot. She had a visit at the V&A. She was there at Trooping the Colour and at Garter Day. And Kensington Palace and indeed the Princess have always said that she needs to sort of stagger this return, take it easy, concentrate on her recovery. And I think that has to come first and foremost. But as you know, sort of Royal Ascot is a fantastic occasion for the royals to let their hair down and have a bit of fun, have a lot of the family and friends there. So I'm sure she'll have been disappointed to not make it, but hopefully next year.
Now on to the King, and Netflix has announced that King Charles and Idris Elba are teaming up for a documentary to mark 50 years of the King's Trust. What do we know so far, Russell?
Well, this is fascinating, and I think it sort of shows you about the different direction that Buckingham Palace are definitely going in, because the King is now entering this new series with Idris Elba, a British award-winning actor, and it's all about the King's Trust, formerly the Prince's Trust, that Charles set up in 1976. All that time ago, he used his modest naval pension to sort of put it in to setting this foundation up, and it has literally changed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of young people's lives. And one of those young people was Idris Elba. He credits the trust for changing his life. He was awarded a grant to set upon a fantastic career. And this documentary will follow not only the trusts work, but have the king in conversation with people, talking about the 50 years of the trust. I'm very, very excited for it. It's starting recording this week. Film is starting this week, and it will be released next autumn, we hope. So fingers crossed that it all goes to plan. But again, the king is definitely moving in a different direction. Signing up with Netflix now. He's already got a documentary coming out titled Harmony, looking at the sort of sustainability aspect of his work. That's with Amazon, due out later in the year. So exciting times, I think, for the king and Buckingham Palace.
And good on him for doing a bit of his own thing, taking a few risks. I really appreciate that. Now, we know how attached Harry and Meghan are to the Sussex name and the Sussex brand, but there's been a report this week that they apparently didn't celebrate Sussex Day. That's upset a few people. What's the story?
Well, it has actually, and I must admit I had a bit of a chuckle because I actually live in Sussex, and I didn't even know it was Sussex Day. So it can't have been this huge occasion that the local mayor is saying it is. I mean, maybe he's trying to drum up support for the school fairs next year. However, you hark back to when Harry and Meghan were made Duke and Duchess of Sussex. It was a really interesting time. I remember sort of travelling around the county with them. Back in 2008, they did an away day that went really, really well. And that, of course, was the first and last time they visited the county. So, of course, there's going to be discussion about their titles, about what relevance they have to using these titles. And they have, of course, been trading on them. Meghan is, signing notes to her friends with a royal cipher. She's obviously introduced herself as Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, in all sort of her business ventures. But what sort of trade-off is there for the UK and indeed the local county of Sussex, where I live? So I'm not too sure we're getting much bang for our buck in terms of the association with Harry and Meghan. But Sussex Day isn't widely celebrated here, I can confirm. But maybe next year they'll pop back. You never know.
But top marks to the mayor for getting the county in the news, I have to say. Now, you have very recently had an exclusive interview with our very own Robert Irwin about why Prince William is the right person to champion environmental causes. What did he have to say to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is absolutely fascinating chat I had with Robert Irwin. Of course, he is a world-renowned conservationist like his late father, and he joined forces with Prince William for the Earthshot Prize in Cape Town last November, which is where I met him, first of all. And having this interview with him sort of enabled us to see the real William, I think. I mean, we had conversations about, their bond over conservation, talking about the environment. I was in Cape Town when he was walking through beautiful scenery with a backdrop of Table Mountain, talking to park rangers about biodiversity and the sustainability of nature. And Robert is actually in the UK this week because it's London Climate Week. He's teaming up with William once again. But he said, the Earthshot Prize is absolutely a force to be reckoned with. And Prince William is really a leading light in this field now. He's very, very diligent. He knows what he wants to affect. Talking about generational change once again that we mentioned at the top of the show. And I think that's really interesting that he's bringing in people like Robert, like other celebrities. We've seen that a lot of the royal family doing that recently, but people who can affect change in their own individual fields. So great, it'll be great to see Robert again this week, I'm sure, and William is a worthy ambassador, I think, for this cause now.
What a great chat. Now, onto a slightly morbid topic, but not necessarily an unexpected one. Look, we understand that the planning for the King's passing is already underway. Now, a terrible topic, obviously, but pretty usual though, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's look at just the evidence of what we saw with the late Queen Elizabeth II passing, and indeed the planning that goes into coronation. You just need to look a couple of weeks ago for Trooping the Colour. That had 3 rehearsals on the streets of London in the dead of night or the early hours of the morning. I mean, these things obviously take time, and the plans are obviously under lock and key. They're not openly discussed, but of course the King and other senior members of the royal family will be acutely aware of the need for planning with their funeral arrangements. It's very, very different, of course, to most of us. I mean, most of us won't have to think about that until sort of our later years. And of course, King Charles is aware that he is in those in his elderly years now, but it's very, very different, of course, when you're doing state funerals as well. So a lot of planning, not only for the royal family and the palaces, but for the government, for all the sort of the mechanisms of government that have a part to play. So, these things were being worked in the background, but of course, no cause for alarm, I think, when you're reading these sorts of articles, because Charles is doing remarkably well. The palace are still saying that his treatment is moving in the right direction, and he's and as I said, he's carrying on quite a schedule at the moment. So, fingers crossed that will be for many, many years to come.
But it doesn't hurt to be organised. Thank you so much, Russell Myers.